Hi everyone, it's Fiona. Welcome back for another Sandia Mountain Natural History Center quick trip. In this video, I took an overnight backpacking trip with some friends out in the Pecos Wilderness after the start of monsoon season. We hiked out to Hamilton Mesa and then past it and down to the creek where we camped for the night. It was about 6 miles in and 6 miles out, and then we did some additional day hiking as well. These open areas are really good for a lot of species, obviously. They like to eat the grass, butterflies, crickets, insects, elk to graze, deer, and then edge habitats on the edge of the forest and the meadow are also really important for a lot of species that use a combination of both. This is a wild type of rose, the woods rose. The fruits from it, rose hips, are a good source of energy, protein, and vitamin C for birds, squirrels, deer, coyotes, bears, and humans. They are a useful food because they dry out in the winter and they're still on the plants often when the ground is snow covered. The leaves are eaten by livestock, by large herbivores, porcupines, and beavers. And this plant tends to grow in thickets that provides good cover for birds and small mammals. They help control erosion. After small to moderate level fires, they can resprout from their root crowns and their rhizomes. Black-eyed Susan flowers get their name from the black center of the flower. They're pioneering plants, so they're one of the first to grow after fire and other disturbances in sunny open areas, and they spread easily throughout them. They're attractive to birds and butterflies, and juice from the roots has been used traditionally for earaches. We saw a couple kinds of geranium. The word geranium actually comes from the Greek word geranos, meaning crane, because the fruit is in the shape of a crane's beak. This is the pine woods geranium. It's commonly found in pine forests, and it's been used to treat diarrhea and heal sores. This other type of geranium is the Richard's geranium, which is foraged by deer, elk, and livestock, especially sheep. The Cheyenne Native Americans made the leaves into a powder that they would use for nosebleeds, and they turned the roots into a powder for making a drink out of. New Mexico has 12 native thistle species in the genus Cirsium and 4 non-native species, 2 of which are invasive. This thistle is called Perry's thistle. It's the only one of them with yellow flowers. Thistles are important for pollinators and for herbivores. This type is less spiny than others, so it's eaten by horses and cows, which can actually eat too much of it out of the ecosystem. This flower is on the flax plant, and I hadn't realized it's the same kind of flax that is harvested for its oil and its seeds that is high in omega-3 fatty acids. It is also made into linen fiber for a very long time, and linen is a very useful fiber, and it's used for yarn, for oil, for paint, ink, linoleum, and of course in cooking too. Linen has actually been found in prehistoric lake dwellings in Switzerland and in ancient Egyptian tombs. In the ecosystem, flax helps control erosion, and its leaves and its seeds are eaten by deer and birds. It's also fire resistant because the leaves and the stems stay green and moist during the fire season, so it can survive many fires. Blue columbine flowers have a good shape for moths and especially hummingbirds to use their long tongues to be able to get into them and drink the nectar from. The word columbine comes from the Latin word for dove because the flower seems to resemble 5 doves in a huddle together. Indigenous people have used this plant as a tea to treat fevers, heart tension, and the pain caused by poison ivy. This is a type of bellflower which has from 300 to over 400 species in the genus Campanula. They have a long blooming period of several weeks to months, and they really attract a lot of pollinators. They reseed easily on their own, and deer don't like them. They're a symbol of gratitude, love, and endurance in different cultures around the world, and they can be used for a natural blue or purple dye. This flower is a type of cinquefoil. There are actually more than 300 species in this one genus, and they're all in the rose family. Cinquefoil means 5-leaved. Some species actually have 3 or 7 or more leaflets clustered, and their fruits look kind of like dry strawberries. Here's the very attractive, brightly red-colored beardlip penstemon, which also attracts hummingbirds, bees, and butterflies to it. Penstemon only occurs in North America except for one minor species. They are very drought and cold tolerant, and they do well on infertile and disturbed soils. The Zuni people have used the root rubbed over what they call a rabbit stick to ensure success in the hunt. Dene people have used this plant for burns, cramps, cough, swelling, gunshot and arrow wounds, and they call it a life medicine. The Gunnison's Mariposa lily is in the genus Calochortus, which comes from the Greek word kalos, meaning beautiful, and chordos, meaning grass, because the leaves look like blades of grass. Mariposa means butterfly in Spanish, and the Gunnison part comes from Captain Gunnison, who was a surveyor and explorer in the early to mid 1800s, who was actually murdered after completing a railroad route survey. Red clover is in the legume family. It's been used medicinally for a long time. Bumblebees are attracted to it and help pollinate the plant. And it's from parts of Asia and Europe, but it was brought over by English colonists to North America and then spread widely, so it's considered naturalized now. The plant has 275,000 seeds per pound. It is often planted for hay and on pasture land for livestock to graze on and eat. Thimbleberry produces a red berry that looks like a raspberry. They're actually related. This plant's in the rose family, and they're quite tasty. I know myself when I visited Glacier National Park last summer, and they were all along the trails. The fruits are, of course, not just eaten by people, but by birds and bears and other wildlife as well. These plants grow well in disturbed areas, in clearings, and along roadsides and trails, where we were finding it. Common cow parsnip is in the same family as carrots, parsley, dill, celery, anise, and fennel. Some of their relatives are also very poisonous, like poison hemlock and giant hogweed. The cow parsnip can get over 7 feet tall with a 2.5-foot diameter of leaf, and the giant hogweed can be double that, 14 feet tall and 5-foot diameter leaves. The sap of the cow parsnip can cause skin rashes when it's exposed to sunlight. Indigenous people have used it though, not only for food and medicine, but also to make musical instruments and toys out of. Spring parsleys resemble parsley, and they are in the carrot family. They have a long taproot, and they can be dangerous because when sheep or cows eat them, they cause a severe photosensitivity, so difficulty in the sun, and so that causes blisters and pain on any skin that's not covered by their fur, especially in the spring. The udders can actually become too painful to allow their young to nurse. Scarlet gilia is in the Ipmomopsis genus, from the Greek words meaning striking appearance. Sure has that. Hummingbirds are attracted to the red color, and they drink from and pollinate the flowers. Scarlet gilia can also have white flowers, even on the same plant, and they bloom later in the summer and attract moths. This is one of the species of fleabane flowers, which are in the aster family. The flowers, when you look very closely, are actually clusters of tiny flowers. It's in the genus Erigeron, which means old man in the spring because of the hairy stems they have. The name fleabane comes from the concept that it can ward off fleas, gnats, and flies, but unfortunately it hasn't been shown to be effective. Crab spiders hang out on them to prey on insects. Lynx flower moths lay their eggs in these flowers, and finches and sparrows eat their seeds. Nodding onion is one variety of wild onion. They are edible, and they've been used in the past for food and medicine. Bears and squirrels like to eat the bulbs, and they're very attractive to honeybees. Fireweed gets its name because it grows quickly into areas that have been burned or disturbed by other changes, including logging of forests, even oil spills. One of the first plants to grow in after the Mount St. Helens volcanic eruption was actually fireweed. And in London, it covered the city after the city was bombed in World War II. It is edible by people. It was used by native people around the world, including in Europe and Alaska, for tea, for its vitamins, for honey, jelly, and syrup. The paintbrush is actually not all flower. The red portions are not flower, but they're actually bracts or colored leaves that grow under the actual flowers, which are much more subtle. The red cloud color attracts hummingbirds. The roots attach to other plants' roots to absorb more nutrients. So they're actually hemiparasites. So they do photosynthesis to make their own food, but they also take nutrients from other plants. This is twinberry honeysuckle. This plant helps control stream bank erosion and is good for restoring riparian areas, wetlands, and other moist habitats. The berries are eaten by bears, small mammals, and birds. Hummingbirds and butterflies drink nectar from its flowers, and the plant hosts butterfly larvae. Berries from this plant have been used for dye, and the leaves, berries, and bark have been used for medicinal purposes. This is owl's claw, which is also called sneezeweed and yerba del lobo. It attracts many butterflies and bees to it, but deer don't like it. Common dandelions are, of course, seen often as an unwanted weed in the US today, but people and societies across the world once enjoyed having dandelions around, all the way back to ancient Egypt, Greece, Rome, and China. They were probably brought over on the Mayflower to North America on purpose. They've been used to help the liver filter toxins from the blood, as a diuretic, for dandruff, baldness, warts, depression, and even for the plague. Dandelions have a lot of good nutrients in them, and they can help lawns. They have 15-foot roots that help loosen soil, reduce erosion, uptake calcium and other nutrients from deep in the soil that makes them more available to plants near the surface.